So the gamble pays off for the New South Wales Nationals. Labor, meanwhile, may find itself electing a new state leader as early as this week. And at a federal level, Labor is split again on the fundamentals of energy policy. Throughout that campaign, you had those in the senior echelons of Labor in Canberra saying, we don't want a gas-fired power station, this is the end of coal. But no, the local members like Joel Fitzgibbon had a far more sensical view that you needed to keep the baseload power going, to keep the lights on, you needed those jobs. So what are the lessons that can be drawn from this by-election result last night? And what does it mean for the Morrison government? Joining me now from Canberra is former Nationals leader Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Chris.
So the National Party saves the day again, mate.
Yeah, it obviously, I like by-elections. We go very well in by-elections in that part of the world. And it really does show that the National Party is truly relevant in the Hunter Valley. And we've collected votes here. When you look at places like Singleton Public School, when we win that, beat the Labor Party, it goes to show you how strong the National Party brand is there. And I hope people are listening in that, because as we go to a federal election, I don't want to see some person thinking, oh, we'll chuck a Liberal up there and that'll somehow work, because it won't. What you should also be listening to in the Labor Party is your candidate, Jeff Drayton. You have to really do some soul searching. The Labor Party's got to decide whether it wants to represent labourers ever again, or if it's just going to be an inner suburban party. I mean, that's fine if it does. If their biggest battle is winning votes in Woolloomooloo, knock yourself out, but just change your name, because you're no longer the Labor Party.
See, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. Drayton made that statement early this afternoon, and he said we've got to be honest with ourselves and work out who we are, who we're representing. This is almost the same kind of post-mortem that the Labor Party copped after the last federal election. They don't learn, do they?
I don't. Poor old Albo is tied to his seat, Grainler. And for all your listeners, Grainler's in the inner suburbs, so he's tied to Green preferences, and he's trying to fight for the koalas while other people are trying to fight for their jobs, and that's where the difference lies. And what we clearly see here is, even when I went to Q&A the other night, the only reason I was there in my head was to trap the Labor candidate, whoever that was, and they walked straight into it. I said, would you support a power station in the Hunter Valley? No. I mean, how do you think that goes? How do you think that goes with coal miners, with blue-collar workers, with people struggling on a pension who want to pay their power bill? And us too, we've got to have a bit of a wake-up call too. We've got to stand behind coal-fired power. Stop this. The only reason we're spending $600 million on a gas-fired power plant is a subsidy for the erratic nature of renewables. That is why we're spending it, because we've got this peaking in power going up above $5,000 for a 30-minute slot. Then it falls back down to where it should be, which is around about $45 a megawatt. And to try and even this out, we're building a gas-fired power plant in the middle of the coalfields, in the middle of the Hunter Valley. Should be building a coal-fired power plant and doing it with the best technology on Earth and exploiting the technology with the product. But the Labor Party have got this this real ideological challenge that the biggest export of New South Wales, coal, they can't actually even stand behind it. The product that pays for all their social programs, they won't endorse it. The mechanism that keeps the lights on right now, they won't even say it. And of course, what happens is what you saw. Only 1 in 5 people in the Hunter Valley. There's a saying, can't get more Labor than Cessnock. Well, just over the creek from them is this seat. And only 1 in 5 gave them their first preference. And they're going to walk into a federal election without changing anything.
Well, see, this is my last question, and we've got a problem with your audio too, by the way, Barnaby, but my question is, what do we read from that result for the federal election, whether it's held at the end of this year or the beginning of the year after? Clearly, incumbency during a crisis works, because part of that must have played into the hands of the National Party. But beyond that, would Scott Morrison be in a more comfortable mood now because of that result?
Well, it's Scott Morrison. A Liberal candidate's not going to win the Hunter Valley. A Nationals candidate will, because the Liberals are seen as a lot closer to a sort of an urban white-collar vote. What Scott Morrison decides to do is up to him. What I can say is, if the Labor sticks with Albo and sticks with the current policies, they're going to get stuck to opposition.
What about the idea that Richard Marles said today that Labor struggled only because there were so many independent candidates? I had to laugh when I heard that, Because I would have thought the National
What-
Party had One Nation and the shooters, farmers and fishers against them too.
Yeah, what a load of rubbish. Is that the best they got? So it was the other candidates, not your own policies. Are you saying, is that it? Do you think people are so dumb? The reason they're going to other candidates, Richard, is because they go, I can't vote for you, Richard. I can't vote for the Labor Party. In the past, mate, it was signed, sealed in their DNA, just straight in, bang, Labor, out. Now they walk in and go, oh, this is killing me, but I can't vote for the Labor Party because they don't represent labourers.
Do you think John Barilaro deserves some credit, given the fact that he did roll the dice, he did gamble?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Barra did a good job, and it was great to be campaigning with him. Barra did a really good job, and I think that David Layzell is going to be a great candidate. Obviously, it's his first day. Not even his first day, hasn't been sworn in. And he'll work his way into the seat. This was a seat that George Souros had with about 78%. We used to call Mr. 80% two-party preferred. So, but George had a lot easier run because he reached right up into Gunnedah, and it's all come down the gully a bit now towards Newcastle. So, David's it's an incredible honour. He's worked very hard. He seems like a tip-top fella, and I'm sure he's going to work himself in really well into that seat.
You could get yourself an audio job. You did very well with that microphone, mate. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Barnaby.
Calling Chris.
Barnaby Joyce.
See you, mate.